Attention, please. Can you pull it up on the screen? Okay, we're about to start the general meeting. Welcome to the Winter 2015 Feds General Meeting. Before I start the actual agenda, I'm going to just say that we're going to go by Robert's Rules. If you don't know what Robert's Rules is, I'll be explaining as I go. Please stop me at any point if you have questions. The pieces of paper in your hands, the blue one is your own vote, and the yellow one is the person that isn't here that you're voting for, okay? So if you want to, when we call the vote for whatever item we're doing, you put up both or one depending on what you've been told by your person, okay? I need them really high in the air so we can count and keep them up in the air. We're going to have someone go around and count, and then we'll move on to the next thing. Kitty, can you come up here? Okay. Yes, not that one though. Not this one? Pratik has another one for you. If you can go grab one and then come back up to the front. Okay, so I'm going to call this meeting to order at 3:33, and we have the agenda up there. So can I get a mover for the agenda? So someone who's going to say we want to approve the agenda. So someone hand up. Can you say your last name for the record?
Boxwalla.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Ray. And do we have any discussion on the agenda? Can we zoom out, Julia? Oh, okay. So Julia's going to scroll through and show all the items a little bit more down. Okay, that's all of them. Yep. Okay, so we have a motion to add adjourn to the end. I think that's friendly, so I'm going to accept that. Can you just add number 15 to say adjourn and then say decision at the end? Do we have any other discussion about the agenda? Sorry? When did, how did you? Oh, that, okay. Okay, so can you go up to Chris and ask him what he wants to do?
Hello, my name is Chris Lolis. I've sent a few amendments to the speaker, and I'd like to move some amendments to the agenda.
So we have a motion on the floor. Can I get a seconder? Ray, can I get the new agenda up?
Can I start talking about it?
So since it's been seconded, we're going to let Chris talk about his motion.
So first things first, this moves the approval of the auditors up to near the top, as you can see highlighted in red, to item number 3. This is because the auditors is something that absolutely needs to happen, and I don't imagine it'll be very controversial. I don't think there'll be any discussion at all on this. The other things that happen are we take the ratification of the 2015-2016 executive team, the orientation fee increase of CPI, and the elections of the budget committee all get bumped down below the approval of the AFSA fee charge, or change, sorry. That's just because I understand many people from AFSA are here and I know they have to leave pretty early, so I tried to bump things that I wouldn't imagine be very controversial down lower in the agenda.
So the motion's on the table. If you're for this motion and you'd like to talk to it, you can come up to this side. If you're against it and you would like to talk to it, you can come to this side. If there's no discussion, we'll put it to a vote. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, so we're going to put this to a vote. So if you're in favor, meaning you like these changes, you're going to put your hands in the air right now. No. Okay, so I'm seeing majority, so I'm going to ask for against in the air. Anybody against this? Okay, motion passes. This is our new agenda. Thank you, folks, for the first motion on the table. Awesome. This is the most enthusiasm I've ever seen for an agenda approval. I love it. Okay, so next we are going to approve the minutes of the fall 2014 AGM. Thank you, Elena. So feel free to point out if I miss anything procedurally. There's a lot of noise and people, and I will not call myself an expert. Okay, so now we're going back to the original. We're approving the agenda, which is the first item on the docket. So if you're in favor of this agenda, you're going to put your hand up in the air now. Are you point of order? Okay. Sorry, hands down, folks. Is there any discussion first on this current agenda? Philza?
So I'd like to switch the order of item 5 and 6. So approval of the Fed's fee increase should go before the approval of the Fed's increase by the CPI.
So you want the fee increase before CPI increase?
Yes.
Okay. So do I have a seconder for this? Can you state your last name for the record?
Alana Hashman.
Okay. We have a seconder. Is there any discussion for or against this motion? If you're for, come up on this side. If you're against, on this side.
So I'm not walking.
Yeah, so, sorry. Yeah. Go ahead.
All right, so the only thing I have against moving that is just because CPI is something that happens without feds doing anything. It's something that happens across the country, so I'd rather get that out of the way before we move on to a more dynamic issue like the Fed's fee increase. Thank you.
Do we have anybody else talking for or against this motion? Seeing, Philza, sorry. Wave at me next time.
Oh, sorry. So I think people are here to discuss the fee increase, and like you said, CPI happens every year, so we should discuss the fee increase first, and before the CPI is probably going to get approved either way, because it happens.
Is there any other discussion for or against this motion? Is it point of order?
I have a question, and I'm not sure who it's to exactly, but if we approve the CPI increase second versus first, will that CPI increase also increase on top of the fees increase? So will we also get an extra 2.0% on the 474? Because in that case, order does matter.
So I believe with Julia, can you scroll down to in the other file? Can you scroll down to where it says scroll? I'll tell you to stop. Keep
So
scrolling.
not on top of the increase today.
Okay. Keep going. Okay, stop. So because the motion, when we get to it, says be it resolved that the general meeting approve the Fed's fee increase by a CPI of 2.0% corresponding to that amount, then it's stuck at that amount.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you can go back to the other one. Is there any other discussion for or against this motion? Okay, so we're going to put this to a vote. All in favor of switching 5 and 6? Hands up now. All in favor of switching that? Okay, now we're going to count, Kitty. Hands up high. We have some in the back too. And against this motion, hands up. And come on. Okay, go ahead. This is a separate count. Hands up high in the air if you're against this motion.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Take your time. Is she? Yeah. 1, 22, 23, 24.
If everyone could stay in place once they have their hand in the air, it'll help us count.
And are you counting 2 for each color?
It's okay if you're not. No, that's okay. So we're going to count one more time because we're going to count proxies and actual votes as two separate votes. So sorry, folks. If you're in favor of switching 5 and 6, hands up in the air one more time. High in the air, folks. And against this motion? Okay. We're going to go with against wins that motion. So we are not switching 5 and 6. So do I have any other discussion on this agenda? Any other motions on the table? Hands in the air high if you want to make a change to the agenda at this point. I am seeing that... So, Chris, we need to add adjourn to your motion. Would you consider this friendly? Okay. Sorry? Okay, so we're voting. Okay, so now that since I saw no discussion on the agenda, we're going to vote on this as the final agenda. Okay, all in favor of this agenda, please raise your placards. And I'm going to go all opposed to this agenda. Moz, are you opposed to this agenda? Okay. Anybody opposed to this agenda? Motion passes unanimously. Okay. So we are going to approve the minutes of the fall 2014 AGM. Is there any discussion on this motion? Someone move it? Lolis, seconded. Yasin. Any further discussion? So all in favor of passing the minutes of the last AGM, hands up. All opposed, hands up. Abstentions? Motion passes. Okay, we are going to approve the auditors for the 2014-2015 year. Can I get a mover for that? Hamade and a seconder. Ray, Hamade, would you like to talk to your motion?
We need to approve the auditors every year.
Could you repeat that one more time?
We need to approve the auditors every year.
Okay. Do we have any discussion for or against this motion? Kitty, with the mic, we have a question over here. Oh, we have a mic. The question is, who's the auditor? It's in the motion. Julia, would you be able to scroll down in the other document? Scroll. Oh, was it down further? Down further? Keep going. Keep going, keep going. Right there. So be it resolved that MNP be approved as auditors for the 2014-2015 fiscal year. Does that answer your question, sir? Any other discussion for this motion? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the auditors, hands up. All opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Thank you, folks. So now we are going to do the election of the Board of Directors. So do we have any nominations for the Board of Directors? So mic people, if we could listen to people who are being nominated. Hands up if you want to nominate someone.
Hi, could I now nominate Helen Yang?
So if you accept and your name has been called, please come up to the front. Sure.
I'd like to nominate Filza Nasir.
Anybody else?
I want to nominate Kinsey Sherm.
I like to nominate Brian Schwan.
I'd like to nominate James Koo.
I would like to nominate Paula Colasso.
Yeah. Just as a side note, folks, if not everyone all at once, but if you independently in your row want to go get some pizza, there is some on the side.
I'd like to nominate Deanna
Please,
Priori.
no one heard the pizza. Safety first, please. Safety first. Any other
I'd
nominations?
like to nominate Doug Turner.
And I'd like to nominate AJ Ray.
I'd like to nominate Qasim Aaron.
Yeah. Are we doing some separately?
Is there anybody else?
Any other nominations?
I'd like to nominate Shanakia Ramdev.
Raise your hand up high if you have any other nominations.
I'd like to nominate Shanakia Ramdev.
Shanakia Ramdev. Any other nominations? I am not seeing any hands. Okay, so just so we know, we do have 2 separate board elections. We have 2 council seats and 5 at-large seats. So if you're a councillor and you're running for the council seats, can you go on this side of me? Yes, upcoming council year. And if you're going for the at-large, meaning you're not currently an elected councillor for the year ahead, stay on this side. Okay, we're all good? Okay, so we're going to have each person talk for 1 minute, and then we'll take questions from the audience on the directors, and then we'll go to a vote. It'll be a ballot vote, okay? So,
They're done at the same time.
okay, so we're going to do at-large first, or councillor first. Yeah. Can you, Chris, could you come here for a sec? Chris?
Yeah, you missed the meeting and we can go.
Okay, so Kitty and Fair, I think, have mics. Could you give a mic to AJ there, and he'll start at the end? So AJ, you have 1 minute, and I'm going to be timing.
Okay. Hi, so my name is Alexander James David Ray, but you guys can just call me AJ. Currently, right now, I serve as the Faculty of Environment Senator. I've been doing that since April of 2014. In addition, I currently serve as Deputy Commissioner of Public Transit for the Federation of Students. It's a volunteer position, and I've been writing a couple reports just on transit and accessibility within the region. I have experience running fixed operations for Chrysler. I managed a car dealership for 2 years before coming to university and managed some of the fixed ops in regards to service and maintenance. I also have experience serving on not-for-profit boards and for-profit boards, including St. Paul's University College and Heart and Stroke Canada. So,
10 seconds.
yeah, I encourage you guys to vote for me. Thank you.
Come on, guys, round of applause. We can clap for each person. And next, you have a minute.
Hi, my name is Deanna Priori. I am a third-year student in honors psychology and through the Faculty of Arts. I currently work for Federation of Students as a student program coordinator, where I plan events regarding diversity, inclusivity, and wellness. I'm also currently one of the Arts FOC for this year for orientation, and I have been involved with FEDS for 2.5 years now, working within mostly the campus life department, but volunteering my time. And that's all.
Okay, you're under the minute. Good job. Next, go ahead. You have a minute.
Hi, my name is Paula Colasso. I'm currently a board member on the board of directors, so I'm seeking re-election to the board. In my last couple of years at the University of Waterloo, I've been the president of the St. Jerome Students Union and have served on a number of boards, including the Board of Governors over there. I've had a great year with the Board of Directors, and I've learned a lot, and I feel that I've overcome that learning curve and would like to continue my work with the board.
Thank you, Paula. Next, you have a minute.
Hi, my name is Brian Schwan. I'm a third-year recreation and business student. I've been involved with Feds on numerous occasions, with Orientation Week being AHS's previous FOC for 2014. I am involved in numerous societies on campus, such as the Applied Health Science undergraduate members, the Warrior Tribe, the Right to Play, numerous different faculties, and I really just want to bring forward this a very not objective vision to help better our student body.
Go ahead, you have a minute.
Hello, my name is Kinsey Sherm. I'm a third-year science student. I've worked in Feds clubs for about 2 years now. Currently, probably most of my experience comes from the campus response team. Furthering that, I'm also the president of an electoral district association where we do pretty much the same thing as the board of directors for Feds. I'm also one of the district campaign managers for the current upcoming federal election. So I'd like to say I have a fair bit of experience working with boards and executives, and I'd like to bring that experience to Feds. Thank you.
Okay, next you have 1 minute.
Hi everyone, my name's Filza, and I'm interested in the Feds Board of Directors because I think the Board of Directors is supposed to be a body that is supposed to hold the Feds, the organization accountable, and that's what I'm interested in. I think the Federation of Students is supposed to be a student union, and I would like to see it move forward in that direction as opposed to like a union that has like 5% voter turnout. So yeah, I would like to be elected because I think that the Board of Directors should be holding the Federation accountable better than it currently is.
And next, you have a minute.
Hi, my name is Helen Yang, and I'm currently a first-year student in Math CPA. I've been involved in some accounting clubs and events, including AFSA, and I want to be part of the Fed's Board of Directors to make meaningful changes.
Thank you. Okay, so we're going to continue on to the council side. So audience, please note that this side is the councilor side, so it's a separate election. And we're going to pass that mic right on over. You still have a minute, though. And go.
Hi, guys. My name is James Koo. I am currently a third-year undergraduate student in the Applied Health Sciences faculty. I'm currently a counselor for the Students' Council for Feds, and I'm going to be a Fed student counselor next year as well. In addition, I'm going to be a student senator for the University Senate. I feel like I'm qualified for this position because I've taken a lot of activities that have brought me kind of insight towards what Feds should be doing and what could be done better. And I think that I could advocate for these decisions on behalf of the undergraduate students, hopefully to improve the student society. Thank you.
Okay, you have a minute.
Hi, my name is Doug Turner. I'm a counselor for the arts faculty with the Federation of Students, as well as currently serving on the board of directors. I've been on the board for 2 years now, so I have served with the current board as well as the previous year's board. This past year, I strongly advocated for open and transparent meetings, and I pushed for the open board meetings motion in December, which thankfully passed, so all the board meetings are now held in open session. I also believe that my experience will be an asset to board because I will act as a resource member for all the incoming directors, because there is a big learning curve associated with the board of directors of Feds. I have a strong commitment to good governance and open and transparent governance of Feds. Thank you.
And go ahead, you have a minute.
Hi everyone, my name is Carson Maram. I'm a second-year economics student. I understand that the board is directly affiliated with the contractual, financial, and legal affairs that's governed by Feds. I plan to utilize not only the student council, but also the executive team to make sure all the commitments that we make to you become a reality. I am fairly new, joining the Feds recently in the student council. I plan to use this new perspective to offer a new way to make our commitments come true to you, and therefore seeking your support. Thank you very much. My name is Carson Marin again.
Okay, thank you. So Chris is going to be talking for Chanakia. You have a minute.
Yeah, so Chanakia couldn't be here, so I'm going to read verbatim the message that he would like to have. My name is Chanakia Ramdev, and I want to start by thanking Maz Yassin for reading my speech. He is a badass speaker, and I am honored that he volunteered to read my speech. You're thinking, dude, it's Fed's general meeting. Why no show? The reason I am not in front of you is because currently I am being interviewed to get into Velocity Science program. This was the only time slot that worked for them. We are creating is best possible undershirt so that you, yes, you ladies and gentlemen listening to Moz right now, don't get sweat stains. Coming to the director position, I've been the longest serving counselor on Students' Council, 4 years. I bring tremendous experience to board and I know Feds inside and out. On top of that, running a startup is teaching me all the appropriate ways of addressing the legal, accounting, and HR issues that come up. Finally, I'm an active advocate for transparency and student rights. That's it.
Thank you, everyone. So we're going to vote for these candidates. We're passing out the ballots right now. If you have a proxy, you get to fill out 2 ballots. So you get to essentially vote twice, same as when you put them in the air. And you're going to be voting for the 2 counselor seats first, and then we're going to do a separate one for the 5 at-large seats. So once everyone has a ballot, then we're going to explain the vote, how the ranking works.
Danielle, is there not a question period?
Danielle, question period?
There's a question period.
Oh, right, sorry. So there's a question period, and Chris is going to explain the question period before we start it.
So actually, I just want to start off by addressing all the candidates up here first. So there are things you need to know before you can consider running for board, and that is whether you are legally allowed to. So you must be, and this is a legal requirement, at least 18 years of age. You must be a member of the Federation of Students, a full member, and you must not be personally bankrupt, among other things. So if any of those things disqualify you, you may as well sit down because we can't actually elect you. Thank you.
If you factor in OSAP, I'm a little bit.
OSAP doesn't count towards bankruptcy in this case.
Okay, so do we have any audience questions? I'm going to take maximum 2 per person. I see a question. We have a mic there.
So this is a question for everybody, and it's a yes/no answer. Mapped-in kiosks, yes or no?
I tried not to roll my eyes there. Okay, go ahead. You can just pass the mic from one person to the next person.
No.
No. Yes.
Yes. No.
Fuck no.
Please keep profanity out of your answer.
Yes. I was part of the board. I can't comment.
Honestly, no.
What's the question again?
Alana, could you repeat your question?
I personally see some value. Yes.
Is there any other audience questions? Audience questions, hands in the air, audience questions, not seeing any. Okay, do we have all the ballots handed out for who was handing them out? There was a question in the back? Wave if you have a question, because I can't see that far.
I got it.
Thank you, Kitty.
Excuse me.
Could each person describe what they think board does?
Okay, so again, we're going to pass the mic along the group. Kitty, we'll just give her time.
Oh, no, just use this mic.
Take your time. No rush. There we go. So I'm going to limit this again to 1 minute.
30 seconds.
30 seconds. You don't have to use the whole minute.
So the board is responsible for the legal, contractual, financial operations of the Federation of Students. They're also supposed to be the gatekeepers. So essentially, they're supposed to review the Federation of Students. They're supposed to make sure the executive is executing their duties and responsibilities in accordance with students' wishes. That's why they were elected. And in regards to the board we're a private corporation, so we require a board of directors in order to operate. Thank you.
Next.
The board of directors maintains the budget within Feds and makes sure that The Fed's executives are held accountable and without personal alliances to their own faculty as well as personal requests, vote for the best of all of the UW students.
So without repeating any of that, because that's correct, I think it also is a board that focuses on long-term planning and future planning. So the board was responsible for the long-term plan that you're going to see today, and that's a big part of why I would like to keep being on board.
Yeah, so I don't want to be redundant, so like everybody previously said, but I think the main idea of what the board of directors is do is bring in an unbiased opinion and really represent the student body as a whole, no matter what faculty you come from, what involvement you have, really bring that objective view to the board.
To agree with all the fellow candidates with me, as the fifth person going, I'm left without words, but in truth though, yes, the board is meant to represent the constituents or your students unbiasedly and keep overwatch over the executive and make sure they're not overstepping their bounds and representing you properly as they were elected to do so.
The board is a fiduciary body responsible for the maintenance of the Federation's regular processes. It's a legal requirement for the Federation of Students to have a board of directors. And it's responsible for like oversight of the organization.
Pretty much agree with everything else that they said. So basically the board of directors is responsible for the budget while trying to satisfy the requests of the UW students.
So I'm just going to continue with everyone. It's basically just the operations, maintaining the operations and making sure that all the students are being heard and the actions taken with the students are being used on behalf of the students. But I think one of the big issues is that the student council this year has had a lot of claimed seats, and their judgments are going to be passed on to board of directors for several topics. And this is why it's important to have someone that has experience with council to pass on.
Sorry. You got 5 extra seconds there.
So I'm the 9th person in line. I'm going to echo everything everybody else has said, but one thing that I think has been missed is that it is higher level governance. We don't focus on nitpicky little things. It's much broader. The staff, the executive, they're able to deal with smaller things that happen in the organization, and we deal with bigger things.
Can I go? Yeah, so basically to ditto everyone again, but in my opinion, honestly, the board is there to hold the feds accountable for what they do in terms of legal, financial, and actual operations. We essentially want to make sure that you guys are getting the best of what the feds offer, and we make sure feds are doing that job exactly.
Hello everyone. So I agree with what they said, but I think they missed a point. That point is, it's there to make sure their stakeholders' best interests are represented. And those stakeholders are you guys sitting there, some of them listening, so thank you.
Okay, so everyone does that answer your question, Matt? I'm going to assume yes, because does that answer your question? He's not paying attention. Does that answer your question? Okay, any other questions?
There we go.
That's also actually 2 questions. I did ask 2 questions per person, and we have had 2 questions per person at this point, so I am going to actually cut it off and move on. Okay. So now we have ballots handed out, correct? Okay. Okay, folks, I need everyone to listen up really carefully, because if you don't fill out your ballot right, it won't be counted, okay? I'm going to take one here. So you get to rank as many board member nominees as you would like, so you can include all of their names and just rank them in order of what you want, or you can just rank the one person you want, and that's it. It's up to you, but you can include as many, all the names. You're going to, on the line side, you're going to include the at-large positions. So that's these ones here, the 1 to 7 on the screen. And then on the back blank side, you're going to include your ranked your ranked votes for the counselor seats. Do we get to vote also? Yes, you get to vote also. And again, proxy, you get 2 different ballots because you're voting twice. And then someone will be around to collect your votes. And Chris, our board chair, is going to add one thing.
Please don't write anything else on the ballot because that may spoil it. For example, please don't write your name on the ballot. So unless you're up here and you want to vote for yourself or you're voting someone in. But please remember, don't doodle on it. Just write who you're voting for. Thank you.
Does anybody not understand this process? If you don't understand and have a question, please raise your hand. Yes, you may get a ballot. We will come around and give you a ballot. Oh, it's messed up. Just reread it. So you're going to do at large on the lined side and council on the blank side. You're voting the at large on the blind side, blank side, you're voting the councillor board seats. Okay, so if you spoiled your ballot, put your hand up in the air and we can come around and give you a new one.
No, I have a pen.
Kitty? Kitty? Again, if you spoiled your ballot, please put your hand up and we'll come around and give you a new one. Yeah. Once again, Kitty has them. Kitty has them. Keep your hand in the air and someone will be around to give you a ballot. Once again, line side, you're voting for at-large, council on the back. And once you've filled out your ballot, we will be around to collect it.
Can I borrow you?
Okay, so we're coming around with a box. Please put your ballot in the box, and then it will be counted. No, these are people who want ballots. No. So the box will be coming around. Just wait patiently and it will come to you.
Yeah, you make 5 from that side, on one side, and 2 bets from the council. No, that's all.
It's
Tell them we'll put the box over on the food table. Anybody with ballots that are not yet in the box,
Okay, Farah, I'm just going to get you to put the box on the food table. If you haven't submitted your ballot, please go over and submit it to the box on the food table. On the food table. Just keep walking to the food table. Don't let people stop you. So you have until 4:15 to hand in your ballot. After 4:15, the election will be closed. So if you guys... Yeah, thank you. Keep that so quick. You can't read it. You're going to be counting the ballot. Chris, we're going to help you out if you go to the election. Also, guys, before we get back into the meeting, if you tweet your photo out that you're here at the general meeting, you have a chance to win a prize. Tweet to UW Feds. Here's the prize here. Okay, so we're going to count the ballots, but then we are going to continue the meeting. So we have two scrutineers who are going to be doing that, and then we're going to move on. Okay, so we're going to wait till 4:15 and then we're going to put the agenda back up and continue the meeting.
Once it people the vote on the because they need to help with the vote on do we want us? No, we don't. Ideally, we don't want us. Can we just
Okay, we're going to continue back with the next item while the voting goes on behind the scenes. Once we know the results, we will announce them. So we are moving on to approval of the Fed's fee increase, CPI of 2.0. So Julia, can you go to the actual motion in the other document? It's up at the top. Down a little. Okay, so I'm going to read the motion out, folks. Be it resolved that the general meeting approve the Fed's fee increase by CPI of 2.0%, corresponding to $0.98 for full-time students. Do we have any, or can I get a mover for that motion? Ray, and a seconder? Beckett? And do we have any discussion for or against this motion? So once again, for on this side, against. You can just come up to the front. I'm not seeing any movement. Please wave at me if I've missed you, but I'm seeing no discussion. So I'm going to go to the vote. So all in favor of this motion, please raise your placards. Okay, sorry, I've been told since we have our scrutineers counting the board votes that we need 2 scrutineers. Do I have 2 volunteers to help count? You can also vote. I see Doug Turner and James Koo. Thank you, folks. So once again, all in favor of this motion, hands up in the air. Please keep them high. We're going to have people come count.
Six, 7, 8, 9.
This is looking very unfavorable.
15, 16, 17. I think we might not.
So 184 in favor and against this motion, hands up in the air. Anybody against? I'm seeing. Anybody against this motion, hands in the air. And abstaining? Motion passes unanimously. Okay, can you go to the, oh, it's right there. So we're going to go approval of the Fed's fee increase. And I'm going to read the motion out. Be it resolved that the general meeting approve the Fed's fee increase by $4.74. Can I get a mover for this motion? Ray. And can I get a seconder? Yasin. And discussion on this item. For on this side, against on this side. I see some movement, so I'm going to wait a second. Or are we doing... For on this side, against on this side. So I'm going to recognize a question. Do you have a question?
Can we do a very short presentation about the fee increase, Madam President?
So just to talk to this motion, we're going to put up a presentation, and then we'll continue the for and against. Yeah. Where are my extra mics? I had extra mics. They're over here. So please use those.
Hello? Okay, guys. Thanks for your patience. We're not going to take too very long. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Ben Balfour. I'm the Vice President of Operations and Finance for Feds.
My name is Mahdi Yassin. I'm the VP Internal with Feds.
And I'm Stefan Hamadeh. I'm the Vice President of Education for Feds.
We're going to try to go through this really fast.
So we just have a really brief presentation, and hopefully what it's going to do is answer some of the questions for you guys before you get up here so that everybody knows the answer and we don't have to go through the long discussion. So we're going to jump right into it. Literally, why are we talking about this? Procedurally, we are required to have fee increases ratified by the general meeting, the student membership. So board approved this fee increase in February. Students' Council has discussed this fee increase on March 8th, and at that point, all the documentation regarding the fee became public. Since that point in time, we've been publishing information on feds.ca, social media. We've been passing around imprint flyers, and we've also been communicating with students in person during different info sessions. So there's been a lot of different conversations going on around the fee. So hopefully you've heard about it at this point. At this point in time, we are now asking the student membership to ratify the decision, and the motion is there just for your reference. So be it resolved, the general meeting approved the Fed's fee increase by $4.74. We're going to ask throughout the presentation to just keep your questions till the end. We're just going to run right through it real quick, and then you guys can ask questions, okay?
Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about what we're going to be doing with the fee increase. So first of all, a new service that Moz has been working on is the Volunteer Action Center. They need money to operate. Secondly, Co-op Connection and ICSN, two new services. We want them to continue to support students, and they've been very effective this year. More societies, resources, and support. Decreasing support wait times for IT, for student groups. And at the communication level, we're hoping to work on our website and improve it through our web design coordinator and a communication person around advocacy and exec special projects. Finally, increased organizational effectiveness. We have somebody to help us with our research, as well as our bylaws, policies, and procedures, and a director of commercial services, which will help build commercial services that will help save student money.
Okay, so what benefits will you see as students? So to start with, we're going to have two services that we started this year, but they don't have a proper budget. So we want to provide them the financial resources to continue serving students. ICSN and Co-op Connection, you will see a lot of events happening in cities when you go on co-op. So if you're in Vancouver or Toronto, we'll be doing social networking events, and we also want to do a lot of advocacy initiatives in those cities to help make your life when you're in co-op a little better. In terms of the Volunteer Action Center, students have talked about wanting centralized volunteer opportunities, so I have a different mic. So we'll have an online entity which brings together all on-campus and off-campus volunteer opportunities which students will be able to search through, and there will also be a physical entity to guide students through that process. A new website. Our current website is crappy, and we want a new one, a website which allows student groups, services, and societies a lot more flexibility to put on content when they need to, and increase functionality. In terms of advocacy efforts, we do a lot of advocating, lobbying to the government, to the university on issues that are important to students. We want to be able to engage you in those dialogues so that you have a say when we go to the university and talk about LGBTQ issues, we're talking about mental health, or we're talking to the government about GRT. We want to be able to engage you and get those conversations marketed to you properly. We also want commercial services that are a lot more responsive to your needs. Bomber International News, for example, we want to be able to proactively gauge student feedback and be able to adjust product offerings and services based on how students would like our commercial services to serve them. So those are all the key benefits that you will see through this increase. And if you have more questions, we will take more questions, I guess, at the end of this presentation.
So just real briefly, this is a little bit more of a breakdown of that 474 and the overall areas where your money will be going to support the organization. So services, clubs, societies being the top area that we want to support with those resources, followed by communications, so marketing, feds.ca that we talked about, IT support for student groups, and then advocacy and elections. And the total of all that comes to 474.
So how we're going to facilitate questions is we're still going to have the for side and against side, but I'm going to leave the exec up here to be the experts on the matter, and you can address questions to me and I'll recognize them to answer. Okay, so again, for and against on this side. Is it just related to the presentation, or is it about the fee increase in your argument? Okay. So again, for on my right, Moz, could you just move out from in front of me? Thank you. And against on this side. And I'll recognize you first. Go ahead. Can you say your name for the record?
Yeah, Alexander Ray. Just a disclaimer, I do work for Feds as a volunteer. This fee increase, to be honest, I understand you as students. It's hard sometimes when fees are just constantly increasing. But this money honestly will go towards good things. You guys, we hear a lot of sentiment on campus that Feds is not doing enough. this money will allow us to start doing things that a lot of other student societies across Canada do for their students. This money is desperately needed. I can tell you in my portfolio, it's very hard for me to lobby anyone in the local area because I don't have the funds to leverage student support for motions. I don't have the funds to advertise for council meetings and bring students out to voice their concerns at regional meetings. So to be honest, I really hope that you guys vote for the fee increase. I understand it is an increase, but it's going to go a long way for us. Thank you.
Against?
So before I state
Could you state your name?
It's Anna Maria Retta. I have a question first. I'd like to know if you guys have publicly made available your year-to-date budget so far for this year.
So I can actually answer this question. It's on feds.ca under fees and funding. The budget link is right there.
Okay, so
and it's been up the entire year since it's been approved by council.
Okay, so one of the things I didn't look that hard, but one of the reasons I'm against this budget is I feel looking at mostly compared to last year's budget, that feds could do a much better job at optimizing their current spending. For the year-to-date, or for the final budget for the 2013-2014 year, they were $50,000 over what they projected that they would budget. So they made $50,000 last year. And to me, that's unacceptable. If you're going to ask us for more money, you should first prove that you are biting the bank and that it's really hard for you to if you should be running in the negatives, for my opinion, before you should ask students to pay a significant amount more money. Like 10% fee increase is a lot, and it could be hard for some students to have to deal with all of these little fee increases. So yes, $4 might not seem like a lot of money when you have every fee that you're paying increase year after year after year, it gets difficult. So that's why I'm against this motion.
I'll take care. Do we have anybody else for or against?
So can I speak again?
Yep.
So just to, I guess...
Could you speak up a little bit?
Just to rebut that point, we actually had a $50,000 deficit this past year, not a surplus. So feds certainly didn't make money. That's... What's that?
So you can ask to show the budget or present it. But if we're just claiming it's wrong, I can't do anything. Nothing further? Okay. Alana, go ahead. Could you state your name?
Hi. I'm Alana, and I'd like to speak against this motion. So the first thing that I'd like to do is ask two questions. The first question I want to ask is, have measures been taken to find this money elsewhere? I'd like to look back to the Fall 13 GM, in which a Fed's budget review committee came to the GM and suggested a 10% fee decrease. Now, they didn't suggest exactly where that money went, or would go. They said, well, here are all these various areas we have identified that cuts can be made in, but you should pick either way. That meeting was adjourned before this could be voted on. So one of the things that I really want to bring people's attention to is that I think that Feds is very spread out, that Feds does not necessarily focus a lot on ensuring that they are spending their money efficiently and on things that scale and have correct impact on
Order,
students.
Please.
So this is a concern that I have. If we're talking like, not even 2 years ago, a committee coming to a Feds GM and saying, hey, we can cut the fee by 10%, and a year later, or a year and a half later, the exec come and say, hey, we need to increase the fee by 10%, that is very concerning to me. I don't know where this disconnect is coming from.
So was that a question that you...
That is a rhetorical question.
Rhetorical, okay. Could you let me know?
My concern number one is that I am unconvinced that measures have been taken to find this money elsewhere. If someone would like to speak to that after my speaking turn, I would be very happy to listen to what you have to say. The second question that I have is, if we genuinely cannot find that money elsewhere, how is this increase going to impact students? How will it help us? So will this money be well spent? Because the money hasn't been spent yet. Where is this going? We just saw a presentation to where this money is going to go. So I'd like to look at each one of these points individually. Regarding services, we have a number of new services that have come in. Apparently somehow they are running and are very successful now, as stated by the exec, and yet they still need more money. I'm not sure how they can be successful now if they don't have a budget, but this money is coming from somewhere. Second, societies. I am a Math Society exec. What does Feds do for me? Well, in 2012, Feds threatened to dissolve MathSoc, and they reject our budget
Please
every
keep
term.
to the actual argument.
So Feds has not done a very good job at convincing me that the money will actually benefit societies, other than stating that the money will benefit societies. Feds claims that this money is going to go to IT support for clubs. The Computer Science Club, a completely volunteer-run organization, hosts 91 club websites. I just counted. So if a volunteer organization can host that many club websites, then what is Feds doing with this money? Why are they having this difficulty? Furthermore, they talk about the website. The website was redesigned in the last 5 years already. I don't know why they couldn't get it right the first time. I don't see why they're coming back and asking for more money for round 2 for something that may end up being the same disaster. The last 2 things I wanted to talk about are the advocacy costs and the commercial services. So I think that spending this money on advocacy is a great idea. They specified that 69 cents of the breakdown will go towards advocacy. Conveniently, the CPI increase has raised the fee by 98 cents. I believe this will be covered by that bullet point. Last, commercial services. Commercial services make money. I don't see why commercial services cannot pay for themselves. The last thing that I would like to address is that I feel that one of the ways that this has been addressed and that this has been encouraged in the student body is by this Feds Does That campaign. This is a way for the Feds executive to justify that they are spending our money well now and that they are going to spend our money well in the future. I believe that this campaign has been condescending and is not the correct response.
Is this relevant to the actual motion?
It is relevant to the motion because I believe that this is being used as a justification to increase the fee when this should be happening all the time anyways, and this is concerning to me. Thank you.
So, Elena, I just need to know, like, what questions you'd like directed towards me so I can recognize people. Would you like them to speak to all of them? Do you have one in particular? Okay. Okay. So you can speak for Stefan any of those comments.
So I have a response to a few. In terms of the committee that brought forward, it was one person. He was a member of a committee, but it was not a decision by the committee, and many other members of the committee disagreed with that motion. The majority of the members of the committee disagreed with that motion. In terms of the websites, Feds host 130 websites, and in terms of the Feds.ca website, we are looking, when we did the website redo before, we went outside, and that's why you still see the Connect on top of the mobile website, but we're looking to do it internally, as it wasn't as successful when we were doing it externally. So by hiring one person to work on it, we're hoping that this will be able to create significant improvements. Finally, the criticism of the Feds Does That campaign, it is something that I think we will be continued to doing beyond just around general meeting times, potentially around orientation week, around welcome week, to continue to inform students about what we can do for them.
Do we have against? Okay, I'll recognize because it's an answer to a previous question. One sec, okay.
So regarding the services ICSN and Co-op Connection, the point was made that they are currently running, and how are they able to run right now, and why do we need more money? It's because they didn't have an allotted budget for them. They started this year after the budget was approved. They were being funded through my discretionary budget to see how they were funded to see how these services would perform in the duration of this year, and if you wanted to continue them. And we have seen that they have been really successful. We have done events in Ottawa, Toronto, Vancouver for co-op students, and they're incredibly successful. We want to continue doing networking events in cities where co-op students are going to, provide them a lot of support with housing and advocacy when they're on co-op terms, and also continue to do programming for international students. We need a budget to be able to do that. We can't just continue having money from here and there to be able to support the services. That is why it is in the fee increase.
I did see a question at the back in the previous conversation. I just wanted to know if that's still a hand up or if that was a point of order or anything like that. Can we get a mic over there to this gentleman? This is a question, right? You're not speaking for or against, sir? 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 Are you speaking for or against? If it's a question about like the procedure, if it's about the fee increase, you're gonna have to come up and speak for or against. You could come up and say, I'm not speaking for or against, I'm just asking a question, but if you're interrupting the talking order. Okay, we're gonna continue. Filza, go ahead.
Hi,
Could
everyone.
you just state your name?
Okay, so my name is Filza Nasser, and I'm speaking against the fee increase. Honestly, I'm not an expert on financial stuff, so I don't know whether or not, like, I haven't looked at the Fed's budget, and I can't tell you whether or not this fee increase is necessary. I'm against the fee increase because I think, like, I don't think that the Federation of Students right now has legitimized the, like, asking students for more money, considering that we just had an election that had a 5% voter turnout, which was historically low. And right now we have AFSA in the room, the AFSA students who are asking for a fee increase based on a referendum which had 30% voter turnout. Students can be engaged in these processes. So if Fed sees the need for a fee increase, they should put it to a referendum, they should get a high voter turnout, and then based on that, they should let the student body actually engage in this process and decide, instead of putting it to a vote at a meeting with only 200 representatives.
So you can go ahead.
Oh, I'm Jessica Tam. I'm part of the new service ICSN. I'm one of the executives. And referring to the previous question, how we were running I can't even talk. I just ran over. We actually were running on, at one point, even a zero budget. We didn't even have, like, we run weekly events. And to be honest, like, University of Waterloo is one of the very few universities with such a high rate of international exchange students. And like most of our as exec all have international experience, and like Waterloo has the poorest support for international students. And like there's like basically without the service there is no support other than Student Success Office. And like in terms of like how do you expect students to travel so far? For example, if we're like exchange students that come 4 months, like how do you expect them to travel far to actually see the, I guess like Canada and so, and like we weren't running like. Oh, I can't talk, I'm sorry.
Take your time.
Like, we literally had no budget to work with, but we had to really, like, find alternative sources to, like, lower budget, like, try, and, like, the thing is, like, students keep saying that there's all these fees. For example, just our club service, we were able to save around $5,000 in terms of for students, and I don't know, I guess, I don't know why people can't see the value of these services for $4. You're providing us a lot of service, and to be honest, so many students aren't even aware of all the things that Feds does and all these services. Like before I got involved with Feds, I didn't know these things. Just because you didn't go try to look for it doesn't mean they don't exist. So that's all I'm just saying.
Are you speaking in favor of it, or are you making a comment?
Oh, just wanted to add on. Oh, sorry, speaking in favor. I guess.
Okay, so I'm going to recognize him because he hasn't talked in favor. He's just answered a question. Okay. Go ahead.
Sorry. So what am I supposed to do?
Speak in favor of it.
Okay. So I wanted to mention two things. First one was what we do for societies. Feds pays for the audit.
So you have to just keep to specifically why you're in favor of the motion.
Okay, so I'm in favor of the motion because I think it provides a lot of value to students. In terms of how we made this cost, how we came to this amount, we looked at what all students need and how much that costs, and we tried to find a lot of efficiencies. This number isn't just a random 474 that we came up with and we're like, hey, students, pay this. This is something that we think we can provide a lot of value for. The students from the Accounting and Finance Students Association, your president Jerry can testify to the fact that I've been working for eight months now to get you this levy. And right now, I think if we change our accounting processes, we will have a lot of more work for our accounting department to do. And one of the things that this fee increase will do is provide the resources to have our accounting department better support societies and student groups like AFSA so that we can better facilitate the levy. So I will end by saying that we have done a lot of due diligence to find efficiencies and optimize this cost, and we have come to a number which will best provide value to student groups for the amount that they're going to pay, which is $4.74 a term.
Okay, go ahead. Can you just state your name again?
Yeah. So again, I'm Anna Maria Retta. So when I left here, I said that Feds last year for the 2013-2014 was $50,000 in the positive, and I was apparently corrected saying there was $50,000 in the negative. So I would like to know, I have the sheet in front of me, I don't know if we can pull it up, but I'm seeing a total revenue of approximately $2.5 million and a total expense of $2.48 million. So I don't understand how that can be a deficit of $50,000. And going to that, so seeing as how the VP of Ops and Finance doesn't actually know what last year's budget was, that's really disappointing to me. As something, it doesn't seem like he understands really what's going on if he doesn't even know what last year's final budget came to.
Okay, so I'm going to turn that over to, are you going to answer it?
Sure.
Okay, I'm going to recognize VPOF, since that's in his portfolio. Okay, I'm going to recognize Cheryl, our accounting manager.
I don't know if this is wrong, but this is what I just downloaded again
Yep,
from
no,
the website.
I believe this.
You're looking at 13-14's budget. What you shouldn't be looking at is our budget. You should be looking at our 13-14 actuals.
That is the actual.
We lost money last year. We didn't make money. You're looking at the budget. You're not looking at the actuals that were audited.
So if we're answering the question, can we please talk into the mic so everyone can hear?
So the reason that budget reflects the surplus of $50,000 from the student fees collected is that in that budget is not included the commercial services side of the budget. So overall, the organization had a deficit, I believe, in excess of $200,000. That is not made public because that is under board's purview and is considered confidential when we're looking at our competitors as an organization, specifically the university and other organizations around. So that is exactly why that is not made public.
Okay, so...
Okay, and to that response, again, this is the student fee that we are talking about, and if the student fee was in positive by $50,000, that fee should not be used to carry off whatever deficit Feds makes on the other side. This is the student fee providing student services. So if the student fee, which is what, again, we're talking about increasing, is in the positive, based on what we see from last year, there's no reason for students to have to pay more money for something that we aren't responsible for. And that's all I'm going to say. Thank you.
So do we have any more for or against? Are you speaking, AJ? Is there any other against who haven't spoken yet? Can we get a mic so we can hear you? I know.
There we go.
I just want it to be set over.
I move to call the question.
So we have a motion to call the question.
I will second.
Thank you. Ray seconds. So this motion is not debatable, and it needs a 2/3 vote to pass. Our scrutineers, are you still good to scrutineer? Sorry, point of order has been made to explain what that means. So by calling the question, it means we're ending the debate so that we can call the question to vote on the motion. So when we call the question, we're just deciding whether we end debate or not. If it passes, debate's over and we vote on the original motion. If it fails, we continue debate. Does that make sense? Okay, so scrutineers, can we get you guys up again? So if you are in favor of stopping debate, all in favor, hands up. I'm just going to go with all opposed of continuing debate. Hands up. Can we just count that number, please? Can we just count that number? Just you're okay. Okay. Well, okay, we're going to do that again. All in favor of stopping debate? We're going to count, just so we keep everybody good. Bear with us, folks. Hands in the air. Try not to move, please. Keep your hands up, folks. Sorry, they haven't finished counting, so we have to keep them up. What did you have?
69 plus whatever. What's your vote? Okay.
So 243. And then against, so we want to continue debate. Hands in the air. Five. Okay, the motion passes. So 7? Oh, sorry, 9. So 9 against. Okay, so motion passes, so that means we are calling the question. So we're going to go to the actual motion. Julia, can you pull up the motion, please? On the agenda one, that one. So once again, be it resolved, the general meeting approved the Fed's fee increase by $4.74. All in favor? Yeah. Please keep them high in the air, folks, until we've finished the count and I announce it. You're getting your arm workout for the day. You can do leg day today. Thanks. What was your number? So 183 in favor and against this motion. Hands up in the air, please. Please keep them high in the air.
Yeah, we can get in.
Okay, that's 56 against, so 183 in favor, 56 against, motion passes. Can we get the agenda up on there? No, the other one. Yeah. Okay, so we're going on to the next, approval of the AFSA fee change. Can we get the motion up there? Can I get a mover? Once I read out, I'm going to call for a mover.
We don't need any points of order.
Okay, bear with me, folks. Jerry writes a lot. Whereas the Accounting and Finance Student Association... okay, I'll just read it from my paper instead of walking around. Whereas the Accounting and Finance Student Association represents nearly 2,000 new Waterloo students from 3 different faculties, whereas these students currently pay $50 to the Accounting and Finance Endowment Fund, AFEF, every term, whereas the Accounting and Finance Student Association is funded mostly through returns from that fund, whereas this translates to only a 3.5 to 4% return on what students pay into the endowment, whereas this income is 5 times less than the operating budget of comparable businesses-related organizations from their national peer group and the Canadian Association of Business Students across Canada, Whereas U Waterloo's accounting and finance students voted to pay $30 less into an endowment and pay the same $30 directly to AFSA in a referendum with 30% voter turnout and 92% of students voting in favor. Whereas this fee structure change will allow AFSA to significantly better serve its students, constituents through relevant programming and events and remain competitive with other accounting and commerce schools in Ontario. Then be it resolved that the Federation of Students shall implement a mechanism to facilitate the transfer of the $30 fee to the AFSA pending ratification by the UW Board of Governors. Can I get a mover, please? Yasin, can I get a seconder? Sorry, thank you. Be it further resolved that the Federation of Students shall work with the university administration to implement this fee structure change so that it is effective May 1st, 2015. Can I get a mover? Yasin, seconder, Koo. And is there discussion for or against this motion? You can just come up to the mic. Go ahead.
Okay, so this is pretty straightforward. Accounting and finance students have voted with a 30% voter turnout. 92% of people have voted to have the levy that goes directly to AFSA so that AFSA can continue to do a lot of programming for accounting and finance students. The position that accounting and finance students are in is really unique. You're from 3 different faculties. You pay $50 into an endowment and get pretty much very little money from it. This only makes sense, and I have been working for the past 8 months to ensure that this can be done in a way that is sustainable. We have buy-in from the university. We have buy-in from a lot of the deans. We at Feds have looked at how we can do that on our end, and it will all come together. And we've done our due diligence. At this point, we need students to say that we want to go ahead with this, and that is why we're here today. So I think it's pretty straightforward. We can just vote this through.
Is there any further discussion for or against? Seeing none, so we're going to put it to the vote. Scrutineers? Scrutineers, okay, all in favor, hands up. Keep your hands up the whole time. So 211 in favor and against. Against. If you are against the AFSA fee, okay, there we go. Against, hands in the air. Okay, and any abstentions? This one. Okay. So it passes unanimously. Okay, so we're going to do the board announcements now.
We're going to announce the results of the board elections, I guess, if you're...
Maz, please don't speak until... Okay, so I've been told they're in this piece of paper. Yep. Okay. So for the at-large director seats, we have Helen, Brian, Deanna, Filza, and AJ. Congratulations. And for the council seats, I'm confused. Not crossed out. Okay, the winners are James and Chanakia. Congratulations for the council seats. We have our board of directors for the next year. Awesome. Okay, Julia, could you pull up the agenda, please? Are you officially asking me to do that? Okay, a quorum check has been called, so can we get everyone who's staying at the meeting to please sit down? If you're leaving the meeting, please, I guess, leave. Yeah. No problem. So if you're attending and you're at the back, is there any way you could move forward just so we can make sure we have everyone? Again, if you're staying in the meeting, please sit down. Thank you. Okay, so if you are staying in the meeting, can you please raise all the placards you have, so your proxy included, so we can count? Yeah. Please, high in the air, placards and proxy placards. So just so everyone knows, our quorum's 50. We're over 50? 60? 63? Is that 63? Okay, so 63, we're still in quorum. Okay, back to the agenda. So we are at ratification of the 2015-2016 executive team. Can I get a mover for this? Heyman, can I get a seconder? Koo. Is there any discussion? No. Okay. Can we all in favor of ratification of the next executive team? Yeah. Sorry. Hands in the air, folks, really high. Hands in the air. We're in favor of ratifying the executive team. Yep, so we have 63, which means this is a unanimous decision. We now have a 2015-2016 executive team. Do you have a point of order? Okay. Next, we have approval of the orientation fee increase of CPI of 2.0%. Do we have a mover? Lolis? Do we have a seconder? Ray? Can we, did I write a motion in there? I should have. Yeah, orientation. Okay, so I'm going to read the motion out. Whereas the cost of supplies and resources increases annually, whereas the orientation fee has not been increased since winter 2012, at which point it was increased by CPI. Be it resolved that the refundable orientation fee assessed to all fall term 1A students be increased by CPI of 2.0%, corresponding to $2.07 to a total of $105.60 per student. I already got movers, so we're good. Do I have anybody speaking for or against this motion? For, against?
Hello, Chris Lolis, incoming president. Yeah, as someone who's done a lot of purchasing with orientation, things get expensive every year. It's just something that we haven't done in a number of years, and it'd be really nice if we could pass this motion. It's not an increase in any services per se, it's just to keep up with inflation. Thank you.
So, any other discussion for or against? All those in favor of this motion, hands in the air, scrutineers? So 51 in favor and against? Can we count? Is that 3? Against? Hands in the air against? So is that 2? 2 against? Okay. So motion passes. Can you go back to the agenda, please? Thank you. Okay, election to the Budget Committee. Do we have any nominations? So this is, are you running to talk to me? So I'm going to recognize Ben to talk about this committee because he chairs it. Sir, I recognize you.
Can you get to the public drive? Can you go to it? Sorry. No. Okay. So I did have a sweet slide made for you guys. It was really cool, but that's all right. So just so that everybody knows exactly what Budget Committee is, 1-year term. There's 3 positions available. There's 1 seat for a council member, 1 seat for a board member, and 1 at-large seat. Meeting times will vary. You will definitely be meeting a lot more during budget season, which is this term as well as the beginning of the spring term. The Budget Committee assists with the preparation and scrutinization of the budget. You'll do that by looking at all the departmental budgets, looking at the lines, asking questions, and going back and forth with the BPOF as well as the departmental heads to make sure that all the money is being allocated properly. Sounds exciting, doesn't it?
So can I get any nominees for the elected directors to the director seat on the Budget Committee?
I would like to nominate Alexander Ray.
Do we have any other nominations? No other nominations? Congratulations, Alexander Ray, you've been acclaimed to this seat. Do we have any nominations for the council seat? We would do that now?
I'd like to nominate myself, James Koo.
Is there any other nominees? Seeing none, congratulations, James. You've been acclaimed to this committee seat. Do we have any nominees for the at-large position on this committee, the Budget Committee? Any nominees? The Budget Committee deals with the budget.
I nominate Andrew Klubine.
Is he here to accept? I see that he accepts. So is there any other at-large nominees? Are you nominating someone, sir?
I nominate Kazim.
Do you accept? Okay. You're a counselor, so what we were going to say is that Ben made a mistake and there's actually 2 council seats, so if you just wait 2 seconds. Is that cool? Is there any other nominees for the at-large? Is there any other nominees for the at-large? At-large.
I'd like to nominate Brian Schwan.
Brian, do you accept for Budget Committee? You do not accept. You respectfully decline. Okay. Any other nominees for the at-large student? Congratulations, Andrew Klubine. He's been acclaimed. And now we have been told that there's another council seat. Do we have any nominees for the extra council seat?
I'd like to nominate Kasim.
Do you accept? Okay, any other nominees for the seat? Sure. Sure, we can do procedurally. Are you saying, like, point of order, you want that to happen? Thank you. Okay, so we have two nominees. We have James Koo and, sorry, we're going to have to say your full name for the record. So I don't have to walk around. Can we get another mic walked around? Can you just get it set into the mic so we can record it for the minutes? Thank you. Perfect.
My name is Carson Aaron.
Okay, so we have those two nominees. So do you want to speak to your nomination? If you want to come up to the front, you can speak. You're declining to comment. Okay, so we're going to, do we have ballots? Okay, so we're going to hand out ballots. Point of order, if someone has a question, please don't all yell at me. Can we get a mic to AJ?
There's 2 council seats. I was mistaken the first time. There's 2 council seats, and we now have 2 councilors nominated.
So then we are
But
claiming both
the
seats.
point of order was that you want those names voted on regardless? No?
Our procedures say that they're acclaimed if the same number of people who run or who nominate themselves for a position, it equals the amount of seats, then an election doesn't need to happen. And that's just what our procedures say.
So congratulations to the 2 nominees. They've been acclaimed to this committee. Perfect. Can we go back up to the top of the agenda? Yeah. I like how we've gotten to the point of not using words. Okay, so on approval of honorary lifetime membership winners, the committee didn't meet, so we didn't discuss any nominees or winners. So this point is kind of moot. Like, there's no vote here. Is there any questions on what I just said? Sorry? So why did the committee not meet? It was just because of co-op, we couldn't get a schedule in before this GM. So if there's nominees for the next GM at this time, we'll have winners. I do. I chair this committee, just so for context of the question. Approval of amendment of the bylaws. So we're going to go to the motion and then we'll move it and get a seconder. So can we go to the other document? It's at the bottom. Okay, so there's 2 motions here. We'll vote on them separately. Be it resolved that section general meetings of the Federation's bylaws be amended as attached. Can you open that actually? So there's track changes. If you just go to the red text. So the addition is the board can choose to set a deadline for proxy submissions. If set, the deadline must be included in the initial notice. And would anybody like me to read this out? Hand up. Okay. The addition is a member entitled to vote at an annual general meeting of the members may A, give the corporation notice of any matter that the member proposes to raise at the meeting, referred to as a proposal, and discuss at the meeting any matter with respect to which the member would have been entitled to submit a proposal. And then in the second section, the board shall not refuse to include a member's proposal under the proposal is submitted to the corporation before the submission deadline given in the initial notice, or the same proposal was submitted to members in a previous general meeting of the members held less than 11 months before and the proposal was defeated. Do I have a mover of this motion? Lolis, seconder. Ray, would you like to come talk to your motion, Chris? If you want me to explain, okay. So I'm just going to explain, he's recognized that I can explain it because I actually made these edits. So we haven't actually changed the spirit of anything. We've just taken the reference to the Corporations Act out to say the same thing within our bylaws so that it makes sense to the average student reading it. But it's just saying that it has to be, so let's go to the top. A member entitled to vote at an annual general meeting of the members may, and that's to say that they can submit a proposal to the agenda. Discuss at the meeting any matter with respect to which the member would have been entitled to submit a proposal. It's just saying they're entitled to submit the proposal. If Then the next part, the proposal is submitted to the corporation before the submission deadline. So we can't, if it's submitted before the deadline set for agenda items, board can't stop it from going on the agenda. The second part is the same proposal was submitted to members in a previous general meeting of the members held less than 11 months before, and the proposal was defeated. So again, just repeating what the reference subsection 56(6)(e) for the non-for-profit was saying, but we've included it to be within the last general meeting that happened, so 11 months. Is there any questions about that? Seeing none, for or against? Seeing none. There's been a motion for, is that an official motion?
I motion for a 5-minute recess. Sorry, Chris, I'm more nimble than you.
Okay, we're going to take this motion. Is there any debate? All in favor? Scrutineers, sorry. Scrutineers. Against? Seeing none, motion passes unanimously. 5-minute recess. Point of order, I've been told. Point of order, has someone requested the agenda on the screen? That'd be a point of order. Board ratification motion, after the second bylaw motion. Was
As a former member of the Policy and Procedures Committee, you for chairing soon. Okay. Yeah, I was thinking that.
If anybody has to go to the bathroom or get a snack, we still have to wait for the 5 minutes.
How'd that work? So like, we've already set the agenda, and like, I think adjourning was also on the agenda. So like.
So we have 1 minute left before I'm going to call the meeting back to order.
We'll get it done. We'll get it done. Passing up in the good hands.
Okay, 5 minutes is up. I'm calling this meeting back to order. Please sit down if you're attending this meeting. Okay, so we're back to the bylaws. Philza, did you want to make, did someone want to make the...
I motion to amend it to, instead of under, for a member's proposal under, to given, and then the same proposal
Where was
not
the given
submitted.
part? Sorry?
Given in the board shall not refuse to include a member's proposal under. So the first sentence that's black above number 1.
And you wanted to say, can you repeat exactly? The board
To
shall...
given. The board shall not refuse to include a member's proposal given.
Okay, instead of under. So can you change the word under to given? And then
add not to the same proposal was not submitted.
not submitted there. Was not. Can I get a seconder for this motion? Crew, is there any discussion on this amendment? Seeing none, all in favor of these amendments? Hands up.
I thought it was
39 against 40, sorry, 40 in favor, against, seeing none, abstentions, 1. Would you like to be noted? Okay. Amendment passes. So now we're going back to the original motion. Can you go to the GM agenda file, the Word file? Sorry, new agenda then. No, oh sorry. Aren't we in an attachment here? Yeah, I just want the GM agenda, that one. Yeah. So be it resolved that section general meetings of the Federation's bylaws be amended as attached. We just went through it. Is there any discussions on this motion? Seeing none, all in favor?
I think it's unanimous, but okay.
$41 in favor, against? Abstentions? 1 against, you said? 0 against, abstentions? Seeing none. Bylaw amendment passes. Next motion, be it resolved, Section X officers of the Federation's bylaw be amended by replacing instances of cooperative education and career services with cooperative education and career action and deleting the struck words and inserting the underlined words as attached. So we're going to open that attachment. Thank you. The text is in red. If you want to scroll slowly until you can find, unless you go to track changes in review and you can just go to like next change. So the wording change from center, what I just read first, okay.
So
sorry, do we have a mover for this motion? Hamane, do we have a seconder? McGinnis, would you like to speak in favor of
So I just want my job description to be right. It's CCA and not CCS anymore.
And can you talk
Which one, sorry? And we're taking off University Senate from the President shall be responsible for. If you notice, it still says act as representative in the section above, but the President is not responsible for the University Senate.
And I'll just read this one. The president shall, normally has been struck, be the chair of the board of directors unless the president chooses to delegate authority. And continue. Is there any other? And that's just to be clear that the president isn't always the chair of the board. These are just the wording changes again from services to action. And I think that's all the changes, but keep going. Okay, is there any questions on the changes? Yep, can you go back? Can I? Yep, so I can speak to the intent of the change. The president shall be the chair of the board unless the president chooses to delegate authority. It just gives the option that when we come in, the president acts as chair and then can delegate the authority to any members of board, and then an election would happen. So the board still chooses to delegate the authority, but then it would go to a vote. Okay. Any other discussion for or against this motion? Seeing none, all in favor? Against? Abstentions?
No, I forgot that.
Is that 0-0? Okay. Okay, 41, motion passes unanimously. Pardon? I just got a call for quorum check. Can everyone put their placards and proxy placards in the air? Scrutineers, can we please? Which means we do not meet quorum. So at this point, we can't pass any more motions. We can still discuss the final ratification of the board format motion, which is interesting. We'll have to talk about that. Anyways, and the Federation Long Range Plan report, or we can have a motion to adjourn, which has to be put forward by the floor. Can we get a mic to the person with the hand up?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, do I have a seconder for that motion? Sameta. Any discussion for or against? No discussion. Seeing no discussion. So all in favor of the motion to adjourn?
Danny, we're going to send them out after the prizes.
So the prizes will be sent out after. So we'll notify the person who won. Yeah. 37 in favor, against? Five against, motion passes, meeting is adjourned. Thank you, folks.